Hello everyone. LEGO Batman 2 is one of the greatest video games of all time. The end. Okay, but why? Even in 2025 with over 20 newer LEGO games, why is LEGO Batman 2 still held in such a high regard? Well, the short answer is that it marked a turning point for the series and it never went back. But that alone isn't enough to say why it was so good, so we've gotta dig a little deeper to truly understand. Even in 2025, I find myself enjoying this game more than others, and I realised it's still so goated. So I started to dive into why, and I discovered 3 main components to what makes this game so special. I noticed the 3 integral parts of this experience comes down to simplicity, experimentation, and the payoff. And throughout this video you'll see patterns of these themes that when comes together creates this everlasting sense of timeless fun, and they cannot work without one another. And before you think about clicking off this video, it's worth mentioning this game was so good that Warner Bros made an entire full movie of the game's events using the cutscenes from the game and adapted gameplay from the levels into new movie scenes. You can watch it anywhere online, it's pretty fun, so it's worth sticking around to find out why this game is so good. But now it's time to dive into LEGO Batman 2 DC Superheroes. Let's start with the largest experiment this game brings to the series, the open world. LEGO Batman 2 is a generational game that marks the advancement of the entire LEGO series, and it changed forever since its release. Being a sequel to the popular LEGO Batman the video game, the scope of the sequel far meets the already large expectations. This was the very first fully open world LEGO game ever, and is one of the 2 huge examples of the experimental direction this series was heading towards, and I'll discuss the second one later. The city of Gotham is depicted really well in its open world. We see snippets of the world throughout the story, but when we unlock free roam and gain access to the entire city of Gotham, we really get introduced to the scope of the game, including all 3 of its islands that feature iconic locations like Wayne Manor, Wayne Enterprises, Arkham Asylum, and Ace Chemicals. Across these islands are lost collectibles and villains wreaking havoc. The map slowly opens wider and wider, showing us more content as we scan the area, finding all to do. As we discover more of Gotham, we begin to notice how grand and spectacular this map really is. It is a genuinely large-scale map, especially for a LEGO game, and is absolutely filled to the brim with extra content. A couple of them being 250 gold bricks obtained through saving civilians, solving puzzles, and extras throughout the story. Over 50 iconic characters from the DC universe, like the Justice League, and even some obscure characters like Mad Hatter or Rush or Ra's al Ghul. In the Batcave, we have 3 choices to spawn a car, boat, or plane. Across Gotham are lots of vehicles to unlock and expand our collection, but the most iconic would be the villains on the loose from Arkham Asylum, and we have to defeat each of them in a boss fight to unlock them as a playable character. This extra post-game content is a new direction for LEGO games, but its simplicity gives you a sense of familiarity. The requirements of these extras are very simple concepts to understand. In the past LEGO games, before LEGO Batman 2, the games usually included a small hub area to explore, but the replayability came from the extra collectibles when replaying the story. In LEGO Batman 2, this remains, creating the sense of familiarity with older players, but an ease of understanding for newcomers alike. But this concept is largely expanded and experimented into the open world with heaps more to discover. The best way I could possibly think to summarize this concept is the intention or direction of the open world is experimental, expanding the methods that have worked for a long time to create a grander scope. But the execution is simplistic by design, keeping the methods familiar and simple, and when put together, the payoff is fun. Obtaining all collectibles, all characters, and defeating villains roaming across Gotham is rewarding, especially to discover what abilities they might have. The payoff here is gaining 100% progress, saving Gotham like a real superhero. There's also a secret bonus level after collecting 175 gold bricks inside Gotham Park. You build this gate into the secret mini Gotham City. The goal is to destroy everything and obtain 1 million studs, but multipliers are banned. It's a purely fun secret bonus level. The sheer amount of bonus content can only be fun if the core gameplay is fun, and well, it is. With just a few exceptions. The fighting is exactly what you expect from a LEGO game, simplistic and intuitive. The character's abilities expand this a little further, making variety like Flash's running or building, Superman's laser eyes and frost breath, Batman and Robin's many suits, Lex Luthor's kryptonite gun, and so many more across the entire game. The driving mechanics are smooth and help you feel grounded to the world. When you can fly or run at super speeds, sometimes it's nice to just go slow and drive a car. The exception I mentioned is mostly about the flying mechanics. They are insanely difficult and unpolished. It's a rare example of something that was poorly executed in this game. The flying is primitive, and you can tell that it wasn't fully fleshed out. This was majorly improved upon in the next title, LEGO Marvel Superheroes, which is also such an incredible game. So this flaw was a lesson that was learned from, but still frustrating to navigate around buildings and so close to the ground. But finally, in traditional LEGO fashion, the red bricks is the driving force of the replayability. All the content is there, but the red bricks give you more incentive. Red bricks are essentially cheat codes, but you find them hidden across the game, usually for stud multipliers, but some can also grant invincibility, add disguises, even throw your friends, and so many more. It changes the gameplay and the experience entirely, making it so different to your first playthrough. Now, we've already discussed a lot of the fun bonus content and gameplay, but a large portion of what is fun in these LEGO games, despite the fact they're LEGO and they're awesome, is its light-hearted, affectionate comedy, being a parody of its source material. In previous titles, for example like LEGO Star Wars, LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean, or even LEGO Batman 1, the comedic personality was executed really well despite no voice acting, and LEGO Batman 2 had to hold up that expectation and standard whilst attempting it in an entirely new manner. This comedy is portrayed through many characters in the story, most notably the Joker, but even at certain moments the characters' personalities would show and create humour just by being themselves, like in this scene with Batman.
Can combine to form an approximation of kryptonite.
Kryptonite? We better call Superman. Not going to call Superman.
Or in this one with the Joker, even though he doesn't say a word.
Computer, do you know who I am?
Lex Luthor, presidential candidate, owner and founder of LexCorp Industries.
Very good. Now, I'd like...
A corporation that serves as a cover for a variety of Luthor's criminal operations.
Okay.
Involving smuggling, robbery, extortion, bribery.
Yeah, all right, that's enough.
The contrasting personalities are executed greatly, accurately portraying the characters we know from the comics/movies, whilst also having its own separate identity, being just a parody. Those who know these characters before playing the game can appreciate the resemblances and laugh at its parody, but those newcomers first being introduced to characters through this game receive a great adaptation faithful enough to the source material. I think the most important and creative method for adding gaps of comedy is through the way the story is narrated. The context for each level is portrayed through a news report introducing us to what's ahead. I think this is a really smart way to let slip in some comedy and a great structure to support these levels. Take a look at a few of these comedic moments spread across the game.
But who will I play with if he's dead?
Robin's still around. If we eliminate Batman, Robin will probably put on the suit and say he's Batman.
Won't be the same.
You need a hand?
No, I'm good.
We've got goons in the streets, thugs in the park, and poison ivy in the botanic gardens. Even Killer Moth, who's apparently tearing up the power station. Killer Moth? For real?
Swain's Man of the Year award.
This is my award! Very clearly, me.
Whoa, you just stuck that on there. Kryptonite? We better call Superman. Not going to call Superman.
Yeah. Look, you're on TV.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's also visible from space, you idiot! How much time do we have before those pies go off?
Oh, like 5 minutes. Maybe that was 5 seconds. Run! You're not sorry. You're not sorry at all. To get your watch back? Or did a bus from Metropolis get lost and break down?
First, I don't take the bus. And second, yes, give me my watch.
And finally, what I consider to be the most important part of the game is its story. I noticed the story in LEGO Batman 2 also follows the very same structure as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It's noticeably split into 3 separate acts that feature those distinct themes of simplicity, experimentation, and finally, the fun payoff. I see the first third of the game is spent on becoming attached to the anchors of the story in the build-up phase, being Batman, Robin and Joker, then soon after Lex Luthor and Superman. It's the simplistic introduction to these characters that's executed so well and leads the devs into a safe sense of security to allow creative freedom when implementing the experimental phase of the story that follows. Here's a quick rundown so you can see what I'm talking about and prove I'm not just waffling random nonsense. In the beginning, Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor are nominated for Man of the Year award. Bruce Wayne is the winner, and as he goes to accept his trophy, the Joker appears on screen terrorizing the people of Gotham whilst making his grand entrance. He orders his goons to rob all the people inside the building. The only ones that could possibly stop him is Batman and his trusted sidekick Robin. To save the day, Batman and Robin use a number of special gadget suits at their disposal to solve puzzles and defeat the villains sent by Joker, who makes his escape by boat, but Batman commits and chases him down, forcing Joker to crash into the amusement park. They face off again once more, and Joker tries to destroy the Batwing, but fails in his attempts whilst wondering about Batman's unbreakable toys, and he gets arrested. He gets taken to Arkham Asylum, where he begins to hear voices. The voices make promises to him to get vengeance on Batman. He questions whether it's just a crazy voice in his head, but is stunned to see Lex Luthor break open his cell and break him out using a weapon called the Deconstructor, which has the power to deconstruct powerful black objects, much like Batman's toys. Lex promises to give Joker the Deconstructor if he can create a laughing gas that can hypnotize the public into voting for him in his presidential campaign. But the Deconstructor is powered by the rare substance, kryptonite, so Lex and Joker fly away as Joker frees other villains from the asylum. Commissioner Gordon calls for Batman and Robin to round up the villains that broke free from the asylum. In the asylum's courtyard, roaming free are Penguin, Two-Face, Harley Quinn, the Riddler, Catwoman, Bane and Poison Ivy, as well as Scarecrow, who the dynamic duo defeat in a boss fight inside the asylum before realizing the Joker has escaped. The Joker breaks into Ace Chemicals to create a synthetic kryptonite-like substance to power the Deconstructor. Batman and Robin respond to the break-in and find the Joker creating a mixture of chemical reactions to blow the factory into flames. And here, the two heroes are saved by Superman, who helps put out the fire. This level is the longest in the game with a lot of platforming and puzzles. It features a final look into the various suits of Batman and Robin, but most notably, the superhuman abilities of Superman. Now, I like to call this next section of the game the experimental phase. I call it this because it's where the missions begin to experiment with its mechanics and structure, making the game feel fresh with unique levels. This part of the game is largely what creates its identity. They don't play it safe with familiar levels like so far, they switch up the recipe, offering new gameplay and aren't afraid to branch out. And this creative direction perfectly builds tension so the payoff can be executed correctly. Here, you begin to feel like a superhero. The story continues with Batman tracking the synthetic kryptonite with a system on his Batmobile. He discovers Joker and Lex are on the move and heads to their mobile juggernaut. This level is the first example of experimentation. It's got a unique setting where its entirety is set on board a moving bus. Fighting goons and solving puzzles allows the dynamic duo to confront Lex and Joker. Unfortunately, Joker's Deconstructor proves too strong and destroys the Batmobile and throws Batman and Robin stranded into the street. They manage to retrieve a piece of his synthetic kryptonite and take it back to the Batcave to study it further. Little to their knowledge, inside was a tracking device and they led Joker and Lex to the Batcave. The two demolish the Batcave in order to retrieve Batman's supply of a real kryptonite, which was their plan all along. As the dynamic duo try to escape, they are again saved by Superman, and Batman reluctantly agrees to allow Superman's help in apprehending the two villains. This mission is a special moment in the story. The secret Batcave, the center of this entire game, is destroyed, and the level's entire structure is based around escaping the havoc caused by these villains. As Robin tries to recover any tech remaining in the Batcave, Batman and Superman decide to apprehend the villains by following their large aircraft. This is another great example of the experimental creativity. This mission begins by Batman and Superman flying towards the aircraft. The aircraft has a lot of defenses, turrets and goon ships. It feels very cinematic to fly around this huge aircraft and destroy small parts of its systems and defenses from the outside, only to then infiltrate the aircraft, break through more systems inside to confront Joker and Lex. But this was a wasted effort, as Batman falls into Joker's trap and drops from the aircraft, forcing Superman to save him. The two now decide to follow the aircraft to Metropolis to infiltrate LexCorp. In this level, Superman and Batman fight robot receptionists and force their way through LexCorp, only to find puzzles and kryptonite traps that render Superman useless, giving us our very first experience where we cannot rely on Superman anymore, and Batman must be the one to step up to help him. This is another long mission that ends in a boss fight with a LexCorp prototype robot, whilst we control another robot. After the coast is clear, Batman and Superman stumble across a gigantic Joker robot, and Superman is brought to his knees, being exposed to kryptonite. The villains reveal they're heading to Gotham City to release Joker's laughing gas, and Batman is crushed by a large crate. The two expected a dastardly trap from the villains and survived due to switching suits before entering the room and faking each other's identities. And now we enter what I refer to as the payoff, entering the final act where Joker gets his own Lego Megazord, and it takes the remainder of the game to bring him and Lex down, which really puts into perspective the villain's power and importance. Each level is a different stage of this grand fight. These three parts of the story are seamlessly connected together. The experimental missions don't suddenly stop whilst entering the final arc. It continues the trend, but focuses its direction entirely on the Joker mech fight. Straight away, the next mission reintroduces the awesome sky chase missions from earlier, this time chasing Joker's new Gundam mech and disabling it by destroying its engines and flying equipment, forcing an emergency crash down into Gotham. But Superman was also exposed to kryptonite, forcing him to also crash down. The two head towards City Hall to find Luthor using Joker's laughing gas on the public. To stop them, the Joker punches the two into the subway, and they try to damage the robot from underground, causing them to flee, whilst the heroes hop onto a train to escape. They follow the villains back to City Hall where Luthor is giving his presidential speech, and Joker poisons them all with laughing gas. This portion of the boss fight is held during the presidential campaign with news reporters watching firsthand. The heroes jump onto the robot's arm, and Superman damages the robot to stop the laughing gas, causing an explosion, and the boss fight continues on a rooftop, where Superman blasts himself through the robot, causing it to leak liquid kryptonite all across the area, and over himself. As Batman is under attack, Robin arrives in a multicolored Batmobile, immune to the Deconstructor's powers, to save Batman and escape. This is another creative and unique level, undergoing a car chase. You may have noticed for the entire game, the heroes have had to chase the villains, but now at the very end, the script is flipped. The villains are now chasing the heroes, turning the heroes into actionary characters, forcing the villains to become reactionary, in stark contrast to the rest of the game's events. But this small plan to escape was actually a trick to make Lex and Joker follow Robin around the city, not aware of the liquid kryptonite oozing out of them. They accidentally create a large Joker face out of kryptonite across Gotham, which is spotted by Martian Manhunter in the Watchtower in outer space. He contacts the Justice League, and at the scene arrives Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Green Lantern, and the Flash. At their arrival, Luthor concedes defeat, but in one final act of retaliation against Bruce Wayne for winning the Man of the Year award, he attempts to destroy Wayne Tower. The Justice League make their way to the top of Wayne Tower and battle the Joker robot. The team weaken its body with electricity and turrets for Green Lantern to hit the final blow, knocking it off of Wayne Tower. But this still isn't enough. The Justice League race down to the robot as it's falling mid-air to defeat the Joker. Another perfect example of the creativity when experimenting with LEGO games structure. This boss fight has already been multiple missions long, but this really is a superhero fight, this long tension built up over the course of the story pays off with this awesome spectacular boss fight, fighting the Joker on a giant robot falling off the top of Wayne Tower. This is how to tell a superhero story. This is how you defeat a super villain like the Joker. This is the comic essence we fans love so dearly. The brief appearance of the Justice League ties this whole story together, and their importance in the world despite not being present for 90% of it. But the tension still continues, this battle isn't over and Joker doesn't give up so easy. Even with his robot malfunctioning, he sends his goons at the Justice League, who fully deactivate his systems and knock the head off the robot, causing Joker to jump out and fight himself. But as he is defeated, Lex Luthor swoops in with his mini-robot in a last-ditch effort to kill the Justice League. The tension continues in this ever-going battle and takes the entire Justice League to work together to take Lex down, using Martian Manhunter's Sunbeam from out of space to overload Lex's robot. Finally, the Justice League are victorious and subdues both Joker and Lex. As Gordon thanks Batman, he states he could not do it without the Justice League. And in an act of celebration, Green Lantern shoots a beacon into space, which is seen by Brainiac and utters. The plot is short and simple, but the execution is intense and action-packed like a comic book would be, with the entire conflict revolving around the actionary villains of Joker and Lex Luthor. The story is anchored by their actions and plans, whilst Batman, Robin and Superman are merely reactionary the entire game, trying to catch up, solve their plans and put a stop to it, until the finale where the heroes flip the script and defeat the villains by luring them into their plan. The simplistic design structure of the story allows room for these experimental missions to shine, and creates opportunity for change and growth to the LEGO game formula. I think it paid off extremely well. A very methodic or simplistic superhero versus supervillain story, but simplistic by design, to not stretch out the events and to minimalize padding. In this title, the missions became drastically longer, also introduced checkpoints and extra cutscenes to not feel so repetitive or too long, which also gives us a break to allow fun gameplay elements to take focus. It's very hard to pull off such a striking balance of simplistic yet experimental direction, and ultimately creates a timeless, revolutionary, fun experience. If you're ever craving a LEGO game, I highly recommend LEGO Batman 2. You can enjoy the classic LEGO charm mixed with the direction of the new generation of LEGO games. It's the perfect blend. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing to support the channel. Maybe consider checking out some of my other videos too. And so, I'll see you next time.
Unless you're just one of the voices in my head, in which case I'm crazy anyway.